Let me turn this down real quick. I can't play too much of that because I ain't got time for no copyright claim. Anyway, hey man, this your boy C has some more better minds. I got a whole lot of stuff that I need to catch up on because there's a lot going on in the news. You know, it's a lot going on in the world and, you know, in society as a whole. So before we get to anything, I want to address something real quick. I hate the news, I really do. So I read a lot of headlines, you know, I read a lot of articles, but because I hate just watching the news. It's very rarely anything positive. A lot of the headlines I've been reading have been dealing with a lot of kids that look just like me, involved in murders and being murdered. And you know, it's just sometimes I'm not gonna say it gets overwhelming, but it just gets, you know, to be like, dang man, what are these kids doing, or what are we doing? You know, I've seen a lot of headlines where there's been teenagers involved in murders, and I did one last year where there were 4 kids, I think it was, if I remember correct, and the youngest one was like 13, maybe 14 years old. It's a little girl. And I said, you know, what are we doing that we got little girls and they're 14 years old and they're involved in murders? But I said all that to say this. Parents, we need to know what our kids are out here doing. We got to know. I say that, you know, because I spend a lot of time around teenagers and young adults. You know, when I say young adults, I'm saying 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. And I know at 18 they're adults, but they still teenagers. Even at 21, they still young. You know, and if y'all study the law, then, you know, if you know anything about law, but they changed the laws about sentencing of juveniles. So a lot of these things that these kids are doing, I know we often say that, man, they know what they're doing. And what they have figured out is that the human brain doesn't fully develop until the age of 25. So what they said was, you cannot sentence a juvenile to life without a chance of parole because of the way that the brain develops. So the courts, the federal courts, you know, they changed those laws. But parents, we got to know what they're doing. And I know a lot of parents will say, well, I know what he's doing in the streets, but you never know what these kids are doing. And how we know is we're seeing it reflected on the news with all these murders that we're seeing that's being done by teenagers. How many parents go into their kids' rooms to see what they got going on in their rooms? Because I know a lot of times as teenagers, they start getting, they close their doors, you know, and they stay behind in the cave, you know. But how many parents actually go in them rooms and look around their rooms and see what these kids got in there? Have you ever seen any type of drawings and stuff that you didn't know what they was? And a lot of times these kids got all kinds of gang tattoos, tats. These kids have all kinds of gang drawings and, you know, paraphernalia that's associated with gangs. And a lot of parents say, well, my child's not in the gang. But you might want to go and look at, how does your state classify gangs? Because I know in my state, I see a lot of kids at 14, 15, 16 years old, and they covered in tats. Parents, listen. Do y'all know what some of these tattoos these kids have on them? Do y'all know what they mean? Because if you don't know, ask somebody. Because I know I've been around some folks, and that had teenagers, and I just kind of sat back and I was observing, and I saw something that one of the kids had, and I asked the parent, "You know what that is?" They said no, and I wanted to explain to them what it was, and it was some gang drawing or gang tattoo. You can never say what your child is in, because I know sometimes when we'll be in the jungle and we'll get parents, we talk to parents, and they swear up and down that little Mookie and Ray Ray and them wasn't doing it. Yeah, they was doing it. And I'm not trying to be negative. I'm saying this so we can save our kids. We gotta save our kids. And don't mistake what I'm saying, because I'm not saying that all of these kids are involved in gangs, because some of them aren't. There are some very bright minds out there, but the media never show it to you. But we have some kids who are very bright, and they're going to school and they're learning and they're doing what they're supposed to do. We have some that are very bright, but because of peer pressure and some of the people they hang around, they're doing all kinds of things. I try to focus on positivity a whole lot, and maybe I'll do a whole nother video that's dedicated to the positive things that our kids are doing. I don't want anybody to think that this is negative and all these kids are in gangs, but a lot of the ones that I know that we deal with, you at least expect it, but and I'm not gonna say gangs, but they're involved in all kinds of stuff, and it'd be a whole clique and crew of them, and him and him and him, they hang together and they doing all kinds of stuff together. Parents, y'all got to know who their friends are, because that'll tell you a lot too. Look and see who they hanging around. Sometimes you'll be surprised. As I think about it, when you're looking at the media, they are sensationalizing this gang life, especially when you got this singer or this rapper claiming to be something that they didn't grow up in. But now, you've seen all the videos and they throwing up this and that, and they wearing they got all the paraphernalia on, you know what I'm saying, and you ain't put no work in to be a part of what you claiming, and you got these kids out there looking at it like, okay, it's cool. Someone along the line going to prison or dying became cool, and I don't know why. You know what I'm saying? But if we look at TV, we look into movies, right? And we listen to these interviews with these rappers, they all glorifying prison. But you ask a cat that done really did some time in prison, they'll tell you, stay away from prison. Stay out of it. But hey, they making it cool. And I know this. I don't know if y'all don't ever seen anybody die. But when you got jokers out there claiming this and that, and they catch about 3 of them, I ain't never seen one of them claim they set, right, on they last dying breath. I ain't seen that yet. That's the last thing on their mind, because most of them jokers want to live, right? I'm telling you. That's how some of them, I ain't seen not one of them go out throwing up their hood or whatever. Most of them can't believe they were shot, number one. 2, a lot of them crying, you know what I'm saying, begging to be saved if they don't die instantly. Anyway, back to my initial thought. Parents, know what your kids are into. Sit down, if you're not, and have conversations with them. And don't accept the standard, well, I don't know. Because that's what kids do. No, we got to ask open-ended and fact-finding questions. I know we work, and the way society is set up, we have these busy schedules. But sometimes we got to take a time out. We got to pop up at them schools, go in them classrooms. And I know they got rules and stuff, but we got to go to them schools, check on them, talk to them, have conversations with them. When their friends come to the house, guess what? You talk to them. And parents, another thing, we need to talk to each other. Sometimes we'll see this kid doing this. Like back in the day, if the neighbor down the street seen one of us doing something, they gonna tell. And I keep saying this. They'll tell, and my mama, whoever, wouldn't get offended. Nowadays, you got a lot of parents, when you telling on what Mookie and them doing, they want to get offended. No, we got to stop being offended. Because sometimes they are doing just what that parent over there said. We got to get back to the community. The village concept is what we got to get back to. No matter if you live over here and this kid live in the hood, they playing sports together. They down in these basketball courts together. And some of these kids, and just because they live in a more affluent neighborhood, don't mean that the kids from the more affluent neighborhood ain't down there doing drugs or selling drugs. Because we got an area, yeah, the high school is full of drugs. And the kids don't look like me either. So I'm just saying, parents, we got to know what our kids are doing. Hey, this your boy CS Motivated Minds. I'm out.